Hello, dear colleagues. I think that we are going to see more people here in this hall, and the participants are about to come over here. To spare time, I won't introduce my speakers while I will be giving the floor to them. The aspects of microtech, microfintech has been discussed for a long time. Beginning from 2018, there have been some predictions what can give results, what can not give results, and the future has prepared lots of surprises. Some catalysts, some of them have played the role of catalysts. Some new technologies have occurred, and what we have received is totally new market compared to 2018. In 2018, the figure was, just one figure was the share of online loans provided. It was 28%. Here in the first half of this year, it's about 60% something. It's clear that this environment itself, pandemics played an important role, is pushing people to do that, to borrow money. And now we are facing a new reality, new geopolitical events that influence our market and our technologies and their accessibility. I think we will be able to discuss this aspect in depth at this session. An important issue is we need to assess what we have reached, what we have come by this year, where we are now. It's clear that the market is based upon some environment, technological environment, structural environment, and institutional environment. And in this respect, I'd like to give the floor to the colleague from the Ministry for Digital Development of Russia, Mr. Dmitry Dubynin, Director of the Department of Digital Identification. Dmitry will tell us what has been implemented, what has helped the market to adapt itself to the pandemic environment, to the current situation. What are the nearest plans for further work, for further development in terms of digitalization? Thank you, dear colleagues. Hello. I think that the pandemic itself has helped somehow because this distant format is being used in the mass services, and there are three main factors in the identification of the signature and the data which has been implemented. And this has been the push, that very push stimulus given to all the financial market and all other services, including the financial services. Talking about those instruments, tools, of which I have already told, it's clear that the digital profile is that very story that in many ways has helped to have all these services having been transferred into the digitalized format. We have different kinds of identification used on the financial markets and electronic signature, I believe. Today we will have an opportunity to talk about that, discuss that issue. But on the whole, I believe the conditions of pandemics themselves have played an important role, and they turned to be quite useful for our market, for our businesses, for what the fact that we're providing safe services. Clear, you have touched upon the digital profile. It has worked. What are those new methods and technologies that are supposed to be developing regarding the implementation of identification and this digital signature stuff and those technologies that can be used to simplify, to accelerate, to speed up which is important for both the clients and for organizations to provide such services in a better way, in a more efficient way. Microfinances. Talking about identification, I believe that everyone knows about that unified biometric system. It's clear that we are moving to the format of simplification, simplifying this our work, and we're going along the way of maximally possible reduction of requirements. Everything depends not upon one regulator, but on the Ministry of Digitalization. We are trying to convince many colleagues with the market that some processes be made more simple. Talking about the process, I won't touch upon that. Talking about the electronic signature, there's such an instrument It's called the state key, and I can tell that over this year the project is 1 year and a half, and it has such a huge potential that it's hard to say how many organizations in the future are supposed to use that, how many citizens, how many people will use that, because now literally we have been under the snow of those applications and filed by different organizations. That a gigantic line has occurred, which is predetermined by the fact that this is infrastructure, and if you want to join that, you should follow some rules. That the instrument is free. You don't need that form factors, tokens, and all that. 2 kinds of signatures is provided, is strongly qualified and not strongly qualified, were restricted by the number of those services rendered, according to which this state key can be obtained. And the project is a tremendous, it has tremendous potential in the microfinance market in order to enhance some things and connect with anti-fraud, for example, or maximum confirmation of violation. Such an instrument can be used. It's for free for individuals. Thank you so much. We will ask the market participants about that. I'd like to ask you 2 clarifying questions. The EBS exists and is used, is implemented. And in contrast to the state key, has been implemented for a long time. And talking about the state key, but is it necessary from your point of view that some measures of promotion or of a state key or EBS for the companies to implement, or if it is not necessary? Yeah, because the technology itself is very good, it can develop on its own, and if yes, why do we need them, and what kind of technologies are planned to be implemented? Talking about the problem, we are going now along according to the principle when we haven't seen the digital service at all. They didn't exist. We tell individuals about this. It can be, for example, a contract on selling and buying a car. It can be arranged with a state key, and this has been televised. A lady was selling a car, a lady who lives in Canada, and she sold her car in Moscow, and such things are getting promoted. But on the whole, I believe that the best promotion is likely to be the maximum spread or span of all the services. When through using just one instrument, you can be provided with any service. I think it's mutating itself, this market, and the number of services. If we say the line that is standing on the colleagues from different markets, if they are to join our process, and they are using these services, and the promotion will not be needed. Thank you so much. I will hope that everything will be right. You will succeed in sorting out with this instrument. This instrument is very much wanted in all the markets. Let's ask the market participants how they assess how they have come this way, how COVID influenced them, and offliner perhaps, which is of interest now, to listen to one of those offliners. What difficulties they had. I'd like to give the floor to Georgiy Shabad, the chairperson of the Administrative Council of Denum Group. As part of the structure of this group, the FK is part of the structure which has been specializing on offline, and now they're using kind of different model. Georgiy, take the floor. Yes, it's really so. As part of our group, my credit company belongs to our group. Before pandemic, it had been one of the 2 biggest market players that had a big offline network, and we had been focusing on installment nozzle on credits, and that had suited the offline formats very much. As the pandemic came, and like German Greff has said today, we wouldn't have survived. We had to change radically. We had 7 days to live underwater, and we started to do that. It's more difficult to change the well-established long offline structure. than going online, because there are people, there are offices, there are processes. The scoring cards say what is the most important thing now in this case. And this process was not fast. It took us half a year at least, but to our surprise, we were surprised ourselves very much, and it happened, from our point of view, it happened very fast manner. We didn't believe in that there are procedures, all those procedures are changing, because the clients' ways are changing, the robots are implemented, and scoring cards, for example, is that the new audience is a totally different one, like it was when it was an offline audience. You can't give birth to a child within 3 months' time, because some work needs to be done with a certain quality of assessment, given that in installment loans attend credits that live longer, much longer than we have 6-month long credit, and it turned out that it's possible. If someone thinks that this is sophisticated, it's correct. If you think it's impossible, this is wrong. This is doable as they say. And as part of this hoopla, we developed technological skills. We set up several teams that were involved in resolving several technological issues. They started developing products we are offering now to all other market participants, not only financial, and all this turned into a Finland tech company, which last week became a resident of the Skolkovo business area. We set up a full-fledged technological company as part of our group, and if we talk about what we were talking about earlier, talking about the digital profile, I want to say a few words about that. And the digital profile, we were one of the first companies to have been involved in this digital profile. We played some hopes on this solution. Unfortunately, it didn't come in handy for a number of reasons. Given the specificity of this event, it didn't come in handy. It didn't turn to be useful in this in the current situation, although we are using it still, because we believe that all these solutions can have potential, because we know approximately what to change as market participants for these solutions to work for us in our favor. Someone said at the first session today that this is the time when market participants can provide their inputs in the solutions, and we want to give our own inputs in how to have those solutions work much better. And another solution, another problem that is troubling us pretty much, that what I hear is what they should be more active in with digitalization. At the same time, non-technological barriers occur. For example, the necessity of identification. That I will interrupt you, because the problems with Connect with the Future will be discussed today. Thank you. And getting back to the aspect of how what you experienced, it's interesting to hear all those who learn how to breathe underwater. There's General Director of the LDF Eurasia group that have been online, not onliners. Irina, how did you feel? Because there was no one in your segment. How did you learn breathing, or it was not easy for you also either, because this pandemic did influence your business and you had to restructure something, to change something? Hello, dear colleagues. I think it was easier for us, but initially we had learned breathing underwater. Although the pandemic is not only about the history connected with restructuring and transformation of some technological histories, it's also about changing the current system of decision-taking and making. It's about changing the policies of decision-making and taking. It's about approval. It's about support our clients. In fact, if we talk about a key moment in the technologies, it's always the data. and any transformation is possible, and it goes on smoothly when there's a lot of this data. We have been lucky in Russia because for the banking and microfinance sectors, there's been a lot of data on the market, more than in any other countries, several times as much. As many. For example, we have the scoring for mobile operators in Russia who, after BKI, are the most significant information values and scoring in the scoring cards. When we enter some other markets and we see scarcity of data, for example, in Spain there's a bureau. The bureau does not keep positive information about clients, only negative information is kept. For the searchers, it's much more difficult in Spain than for this type of specialists in Russia. When we enter new markets, we go with some ideas from Russia. We can come up to those mobile operators in some country and say to them, look, in Russia they have built that scoring, some kind of personified history. You can build basing upon your data, and you will feel good and the market will feel good. And we all are going to develop further on. That's why it is here where the issue of the data that is important, that factors. Talking about the state key, we'll be happier if by using this wonderful, amazing service, the client might go through identification process or sign some documents for our sector. On the point of popularization, I want to say that one particular thing connected with the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic time, when the client had applied, placed a request, it had been possible for the client to be authorized in Gazlook, and the take-up prior to the pandemic had been about 3%. The pandemic helped here the market enhance this take-up. This take-up is about 25 or 30%. I don't want to experience another pandemic to have that take-up become 60% something. But I thought that popularization of these services should be a part of the tasks for future to reach in the future. And to have the full picture, we'd like to listen to Dmitry Malyutin, the director of the MigCredit, which is occupying a very interesting niche in this sphere, and whose main clients are for you. For this transformation, how simple or how difficult it was for you, given your peculiarities of your company, of your business. Hello, and we believe that over the last years we have seen very good conditions occur for new high technological, high-tech players in the market. It's especially important for appearance in the online sphere. There are some segments not tapped, and one of those segments is the segment of financing the participants of marketplaces or major trade chains, and the FAO can service ready-made client bases with such a platform, for such a network. Those new players that come to the market, given the progressive experience of the competitors, they are enhancing, accelerating, and make it easy, facilitating the access for clients to financial services. And thus, they are accelerating qualitatively the process of digital transformation. As an example, our company that began working at the peak of the pandemic time, and currently up to now, it has launched several successful products on the B2B and B2C sectors. Thank you. We are having Pavel Bolshakov, the co-founder of the JuicyLabs company, a vendor, a company that is helping to combat digital fraud. Pavel, I'd like to ask you to tell about you, given that you've been working on this, how in this sector, how technological we have become, how accessible these technologies for the wide public, or this thesis that the current conditions are not favorable for everyone. It concerns also only those big major players. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the invitation. If we talk about digital maturity of the industry, as we see it from a side, as a vendor, we're helping companies combat with digital risks in more than 10 countries of the world. The Russian market is one of the most competitive ones and one of the most developed ones. And confirmation is there are several factors. The Russian companies are successful, very successful in many other countries, which shows that the Russian market has learned to export a number of technologies, state-of-the-art technologies. So we have seen in Russia several critical technologies appear that are important in this industry, new technologies, identification and devices of identification. It is very important in combating fraud risks and scoring of rare events. These things are very good because they are applicable in all the markets and they're very much efficient. It enables the company, taking into account the new business model, to occupy a serious position, not only in Russia, but in some other countries, on some other markets, which speaks about the maturity of our markets, of our digital market. If we talk about accessibility of the technologies, of course, the leaders and technological leaders who are investing obtain huge results, tremendous results. If we talk about combating fraud, the leaders win results much better than the average ones, much better. And talking about accessibility is a serious issue in Russia, as you have already said. It's one of the biggest markets from the point of controllability, accessibility. Some examples on the average. The cost of applications, requests in the bureaus is 5 times as low. And 1/5 of those in Asia and some other countries. Services in PO, electronic service, digital services engaged in combating the fraud sometimes are 10 times as cheap, and 1/10 of the cost in other countries, which enables us, when we grow, we implement these technologies, and it's easier for us to compete on the other markets also, not only in Russia. If we talk about accessibility, not only for our company, on behalf of our company, given our level of investment, there's a lot to be done here. It's about developing a model of enhance the productivity and to create new standards of teaching, training, professional teaching and learning, and also what is important also is about developing the infrastructure. All those initiatives are helping tremendously, and what is important is to keep up commercial solutions due to the reason that the combating risks is a permanent race, and the markets help us, not only state platforms. And the commercial solutions are also helpful in some private cases. There's, due to a number of reasons, the solutions at the level of state, it has not been developed. What it takes here is a comprehensive solution to be developed. Thank you. Talking about moving from pandemic to today's reality, the reality we are facing now, we know that many foreign vendors are leaving Russia. The demand for your services is grown bigger. Do you connect it with these factors? Do you put it down to these factors? The demand is an important thing here. If we have a look at in retrospect over the last 6 years, how the market has changed. 6 years ago, the market was dominated by some major international companies. 80% of the market were dominated by them. Those were serious companies, international companies. In January of this year, the share on the market that was dominated by international market it was about 20%. Now it's substantially smaller. We are winning because we've been actively developing through new technologies. This technological advantage, cutting edge, enables us to do that, and international market also. And openness is our feature. We have always been working in the format of open AP. And thank you. I'd like to carry on talking about that. We have now summed up that we all have become more technological. The level of services, online services scoring, have reached certain highs, and we should keep up with these levels, because the customers have already gotten accustomed to this. Companies have been accustomed to using this, and which is important in combating fraud. I'd like to ask everyone to characterize how much you have been experiencing today's information situation and accessibility of these technologies, how it is easy for you or not easy for you to implement these technologies in the services themselves. I'd like to start with Dmitry Malyutin. Look, if we talk about the current situation we're facing, when we see vendors leaving today's Russian market, this situation touched upon us to a less degree, to a less extent, because we, for ourselves, have been using services developed by on our own, or we've been working with companies that provide services on the Russian market. Due to given the number of companies, we moved to the open code, to the companies that provide open code applications. And if we see that there's a risk in relations with providers of services, we are trying to annihilate such risks, and we're trying to look for alternatives in the market for such partners. Georgiy, what's your situation? On the one hand, everything is all right. We are basing on the domestic developers. We are a developer of our own, and everything seems to be all right, but the devil is hiding in details. There's a lot of in the filling. There's Russian vendors, providers, they have their own filling and their solutions. We have our own filling. Talking about specific features of our solutions, it's all right in Russia. We are partners. We're developing on our own. But to develop those solutions, there's a lot of software products. And the problem is not only about that they are not provided, but the problem is in payments, the problem is the technical support, assistance, some other problems. The biggest problem is that we are now facing an unstable situation where we don't know how it's going to evolve, and we see risks. But if the sanctions had not been imposed, it would have been much better, but we're combating the risks. We're developing our products on our own. Roman Makarov, General Director of the FKZ company. I'd like to hear your assessment, dear colleagues. Good afternoon. Of course, this year has added new challenges to us. And as everyone has said already at the plenary session, one of the key problems is the departure, the retreat of our foreign partners from the Russian market, and in our business. We are online and online operating. 100% of our business is online, is done online. One of the key issues is the information security. And despite the fact that there's such a trend that everyone is leaving, or is about to leave, that not all have left, by the way, which is strange. One of the key roles played in the information security in our company is performed by a foreign vendor, and it's been performed quite successfully. Given over the last half a year, the number of cyber attacks has increased dramatically, considerably. This foreign vendor has been successful in combating those risks. We are pretty much aware of the risks we're facing. There's a second solution inside of the Russian company. The Russian company is ready to replace completely this foreign provider, but now we are still dealing with that foreign company. Talking about security, that has been playing a much stronger role over the last year. The problems of personnel, and specifically here, is changing the approach towards our dealing with the personal, covering the information security. If we're focused, the salaries, for example, of the employees have increased twice as much, and to retain those personnel and retain them and find new personnel is gotten much more difficult. And the infrastructure, of which a lot has been said, if software is brains, is intellect, we can do that. And the infrastructure is quite serious, comprehensive solutions that are developed for years. And to update something, to buy new server equipment, it takes a longer time, and it is a more expensive procedure, and that there are some additional questions, issues, problems have been added. We need to work towards this, finding the solutions to those problems. Irina? What has happened in the beginning of this year is we faced a new problem. We had a foreign vendor who was involved, had been involved in anti-fraud solutions. They stopped responding to our messages. We sent them from different boxes, from in different countries where we represented. They stopped answering, responding, and in a couple of months they said to us at last that thank you, it's been great to work, to be friends with you for 9 years, but now we have to say goodbye, unfortunately. This is quite sad, but it's good that we have on Russia, we have on the market here, we have a wonderful company that has replaced this vendor, this provider, and the quality is even better. We have been lucky in terms of that, but not always everyone can be so lucky. There's a history with the SPO, with technical support. You can sit down and develop any kind of software if you have good developers, time and money and imagination. But sometimes people should work with their own specialties. If there is companies that provide those services because they spend 24 hours per 7 days making effort on developing their own software in this particular area. When we had a look at the Russian market, we understood that an analog with such a quality did not exist. It was a matter of sitting down and developing on our own. It's still an open issue because we have to use services of not that quality we had gotten accustomed to, and our clients had gotten accustomed to. It's pretty sad that we are facing such problems. And in doing that, we should understand that even if we find some alternatives among internal vendors, servers, these incurs additional costs, additional time that could be used on some other good and finding solutions to some other problems. Let's move on and talk about and what problems are facing us. Let me get back to the year 2018, to the discussion that was held here at Finapolis, and what was discussed is the technologies, software products, that these technologies can be demanded in partnership by partners and can be used in some other spheres. Georgiy has mentioned that they have become a tech company. I know that then when we were discussing, we were trying to find examples. There was no such example at that time. As far as I know, the situation has changed dramatically. There have been some successful cases of success, stories of success. I'd like to hear your examples, how long endurable these cases are, and if it is not the first step towards takeover and acquisition, and what are prospects for developing in this area? Irina, please take the floor. It is here where we have good and bad examples of this so-called cooperation. Bad examples, comparatively bad, are in the fact that when a partner starts cooperation with the NPO, they can cooperate for a year or 2 years. Some statistics get accumulated. They understand how all the works, plus minus 1 kilometer. And then they say goodbye so much. Thank you so much. We will go our own way. We have this data accumulated. We have encountered different situations. We have learned a lesson. We will go on our own way. It's pretty sad, although over this year and a half we have earned quite a lot of money, but it's again about saying goodbye again, farewell, and positive experience. What we have seen, and we saw it before, a story when an FAO, due to its size and a lack of big bureaucracy, they had no bureaucracy, and FAO is much more technological, that they can take decisions faster, solutions may be implemented in production, but the time here is only to buy, to purchase. It's one of the key things, because when when we discuss partnerships with some companies, they can say, okay, MFO, this is such a market, you know, and the banks, perhaps we might go to look for banks. Then we start saying, okay, let's calculate the model. We calculate over 2 weeks' time. The bank has left, and 25 departments shall have this model approved. We lost some time. Let's get integrated. Then we say, kind of, let's get integrated for an X number of months, and it's clear that banks are involved more processes, which brings the longer time of implementation of some solutions. This is an opportunity of controlling your time. It's one of the most important things in such collaboration patterns. And the principle I need to stress that state that the market has become look at the NFO from a different angle. Point of view. About 7 years ago, when we were looking for employees for our company, some banking employees couldn't understand who we were, what that we were sitting in the fintech. Now they understand that there's been a talk that they have less bureaucracy, and that solutions can be implemented very quickly, and they can see the results, and they like it. Thank you, Irina. And some share of reducing bureaucracy we also have. Roman, would you share your opinion, please? A partnership is a relation, and different variants can be faced, and where, of course, there are some farewells, and it's good and bad at the same time. And when we have to say goodbye to someone, someone has said today in the first part of the session, it's more profitable to stay optimistic. We're optimistic about the future and believe that this is a time for opportunities, new opportunities. There are partnerships and the market of loans, financial market there are big sectors, banks, for example, and there are microfinance organizations. And we're a smaller company, and the competencies of in the microfinance sector, our flexibility, the less bureaucracy. All this attracts banks, and there's a wish among the banks and possibilities to use these knowledge. But there's a variant of a partnership when microfinance company together with a bank can not simply share their competences, but they can set up a joint venture where the bank, using the sources of data accessible to the bank, is in a position to make parts of decisions and solutions. And after following this microfinancial company, by adding something into this system, basing upon their own data and their experience, can provide a result, such a result that the bank could not have obtained on its own. And by doing that, both sides are beneficiaries, benefit from this session example. It was reported in our market with the top 10 bank, and the microfinancial company has become integrated into this system of the bank, and have been offering retail credit products to all those clients who were refused by the bank, who were denied by the bank because the bank was not able to provide them with credits, with loans. It's a very good example and very perfect experience, given that this is a joint venture. I repeat again. This is a possibility, and which benefits both sides. And what is important to understand here, we're talking about long-term partnership. At least these relations seem to be more long-term. Thank you, Georgiy. I'd like to give the floor to you. I know that you have a number of technological partnerships with some banks. Could you be more specific? Could you provide more detailed information about this feature this partnership is based on? Yes, I want to support what has already been said by my colleagues before. This is true. Everything is true. On the one hand, they have started to perceive us as we deserve that, and as an advanced company, progressive company that is offering quick technological solutions on the market. We have overtaken many on the market, and that's why lots of people are asking for our solutions. At the same time, Israeli partnerships in their majority turn out to be long-term, not endurable, and the partner, upon receiving what he wanted from us, just parts with us and says goodbye to us, and nothing horrible. We are a leading partner, and we develop our own solutions. We find another partner, and we are striving to benefit maximum from this or that partnership. We have keep partnerships with the banks. You can process their denial traffic more efficiently. This is what we're specializing, we're focusing on. It's a win-win situation. Same time, this bank can learn lessons and can start doing it on their own. That we have keep partnership with a telecom company. On the one hand, one of those telecom companies. It's been a long partnership with one of them where we've been offering loan products, not only of our own, for the clients of the telecom company. The telecom are very much grateful. It's a very grateful audience because they are known, because they keep keeping contacts with those providers, and sitting on these contacts, we've been working actively based upon that. We don't rule out the situation when in the future, when a number of different companies or businesses that might be interested in the services offered by the MFO, these services will be broader, will be more multiple, because these services are provided to any kind of audience. As an example, it's not an example from our market. For 15 years, I've been working in different African markets, for example, such a state as Botswana, for example. State aviation or civil aviation, this is a company that is dealing with civil aviation wants their employees to have as low debt burden as possible. That's why they're ready to provide credits to their employees, for their employees not to pay super price, excess price, and they're buying this service of crediting of loans with their own default rate. This is an example that demonstrates the situation that those companies that come pretty far away from those financial markets can use the solutions developed by a financial company. And the better solutions we develop, the better the segment of potential partnership we will be able to cooperate with for a short period, but for a bright period. Let's get back to the aspect where Georgiy was interrupted regarding what stops, what hampers digitalization on the whole. I would like to ask you to accentuate on this segment. We've been talking about the services that have been offered to the clients as individuals, but there are legal entities, entrepreneurs, where beginning from last year, I remember colleagues saying about the ministry, where the digitalization level was about 4%, now it's gone up to 28% because new practices have occurred. I know that you are working with such clients. Could you share through what stops, what hampers, impedes? Yes, we're working on the segment of small and middle-sized businesses, and beginning from 2020, when we purchased a company that had a technological solution. The thing is that we believe that providing loans by microfinance companies to all those small enterprises and small businesses is impossible as a business if you don't have that technological feature that would justify that. Why it's impossible? Because talking generally, the rules that are working in our NFO, where we are using that help of rates and risks, and we develop a mathematical model. We're working with statistics, basic on statistics. In small and middle-sized businesses, it doesn't work. It's not working because the volume of liabilities is not that big, and the number is not that, and the rate is not that they need, and we need. We have to work somehow differently, because we'll purchase a company that had a technological solution that enabled, by using the help of a acquiring bank, to split every banking payment, and actually the company were credited by in the flow of acquiring as part of the acquiring flow. It was an interesting solution that justified all our further actions. Further on, we took several other technological solutions developed, and then COVID then came. That was not that good, really, but we had to duck and dive, so to say. And we were looking at those places where technological hubs were possible, where those mass solutions were possible. We addressed marketplaces. We were the first to enter, to come up to them. Marketplaces are able to do that. We proceed working for them, and we have not lost in our growth. We keep on growing, not that fast as we wanted it, but we haven't lost that growth. And even in this case, because marketplaces started working and learned lessons, and they're working on themselves, and this niche we can occupy in crediting small and middle-sized businesses is located in where the technological solutions are available. The problem of crediting of a NFO for microfinance organizations, if it's about liabilities, first of all, the amount of liabilities they operate. And NFO organizations, for example, they attract 20% annual through bonds placed. And this is the price of your liabilities. And given this price of cost of liabilities is important to credit small businesses. Now we are losing here. It's not about the technologies. What about stops us? We are losing to the state MFO, microfinance organizations, and they have quite a cheap liabilities as a result of state support. In fact, in general, from the point of technologies, from the point of access to the public, to the clients, and possibilities of distributing funds among the small and middle-sized businesses were ready, and we can more efficiently implement these programs that are implemented by the state and MFO. We would welcome a situation when this opportunity is examined, considered to work as part of the contracts or order or reverse a purchase of securitization that can enable to purchase quite cheap liabilities and provide funds according to a program that is suitable for the customer, for the NGK, for example, they have such a program, something similar, that would facilitate our work, and cheap access to the crediting for small and middle-sized businesses is a problem until we resolve that problem, and we have to duck and dive and get digitalized. You have recalled that those marketplaces. Question to you, Victor. You are one of those few, if not the only one, who provide the entire online cycle of services, given the platform you're operating. Do you agree with Georgiy? And perhaps you might add something in this regard. Yes. Look, providing loans, crediting in the B2B segment, the sellers and the platforms, Amazon platform, it was perceived in the very beginning as a completely online remote process, with using of an intensified qualification signature, authentication signature, and authorizing signature, and through implementing knowledge, information about our partners, her objectives. Our difference here is that we are pretty much aware of the borrower. We have all the information about the borrowers and about his or her financial flows. And first of all, we, on the OZON platform, we are learning some additional moments, additional information. We're getting some additional information on this platform, some requests of buyers and something else. And through all this, we can either abstain from using any external information about the financial situation of a borrower. We can provide credits for him through the turnover on the OZON or use it optionally. That's why the scoring is becoming faster, more controllable for a certain number of borrowers, for certain categories of borrowers, which reduces considerably our risks. And the second thing, thanks to which on this platform we can reduce our risks, is our possibility to monitor the financial flows of our clients, because we get closer to his income, and that's why we're distributing this income in terms of paying off the credits, the loan. Talking about further prospects of our company, we're planning to have those technologies that have already been proven on this platform, on the OZON platform. We are planning to implement them for some for some other external partners to go outside of the Amazon. And I would agree with the colleague that, in fact, a big problem here is funding, because everyone is pretty much aware that the state is helping the small and middle-sized businesses, and it is doing that, and this is where microfinance organizations cannot be involved. And our position here is if the company, a company that wants to get state finances, corresponds to all the requirements that should, together with all other participants, should have an access to the resources, to the funds that are earmarked by the state to help small and middle-sized companies, which will provide enhancement on the market and would provide more resources to finances. For example, during the pandemic time, such a time as pandemic was, and we can help, this is where we can help with our knowledge, with our technologies. Thank you. We're gradually nearing the end of our session. The time is restricted, and as we have moved to the problems, discussing the problems that need to be resolved, I'd like each speaker to take at least 1 minute to highlight the main problems they are supposed to face in the short term and in the mid-term, for you to become more technological, to provide better services to your clients, consumers. I'd like to begin with Pavel. I'd like to state two important moments. First of all, this is what would be more useful for us as a company, microfinance company, for the industry. From the point of development, if more platforms existed that could provide their results, and some other companies, some other technological companies with their management, because it carries not only, it carries also a learning function, and this is SRO role, kind of a company. They should be these platforms for producers of technologies on the market would be better, much greater. The second thing is setting up long-term entities to regulate the data, together with the Ministry for Digital. And experience has shown we have been working more than 25 countries. Such regulation makes influences very strongly the digitalization. We can say that there's a lot of examples from developing countries where people never followed that. And I watched that, but the effect is very positive. Turned out to be very positive. There are reverse effects when they. If we had started thinking about that 16 years, this effect might have become much stronger. We should think for future and such things that would help regarding those things that could help the market strongly. This is permanent for processing data and a lot of other things. Thank you, Dmitry. Take your floor. Yes, we are welcoming the trend, well-established trend of digitalization of the market, which is especially important and interesting for individuals and individual entrepreneurs, and also in order to accelerate the financing of MSB. And I'd like to pay your attention, focus your attention on the possibilities of state financing this sector through microfinance organizations. Georgiy, please take the floor. Over the last years have shown that the market MFO has gone away completely from this image of a guy with a golden false teeth, and it turned into a highly motivated market with absolute different products, producing different products. Beginning from the P&A, a highly technological online B2B NPLs that are not developed, but they are likely to be developed until up to crediting small businesses, some platform loans and so forth. This market should be treated in this way, in a way that it's very technological. It's perhaps the most technological financial markets in the country. That is providing trends. We should cooperate with that, and this market should be regulated as well. We would welcome the modern, predictable regulation of this market and predictability of partnership with other members, players of the market. The time has come to use our possibilities. Raman, our business is perhaps working with data, with information, and as you all know, those who own information own the world. The more data, the better. And if we talk about what can be done, it is providing more data, provide those data that we have not an access to those microfinancial organizations. As we have already said today, this trend is going on, and which is of help is those additional data that can be provided. An example, Irina told about what happened during the COVID pandemic time when the take rate increased from 8 to 25%. It happened because some huge, tremendous work had been done on the state level, in terms of digitalization of this service, and a big number of individuals had been able to do that. We should carry on with these trends, and we should carry on these trends in terms of digitalization of state sources of data. This is state-of-the-art. This is what is going to be our driver for the foreseeable time. Irina, I wish to have two. I want to have two wishes. The first one is that we were able, together with the new state key, to identify clients. And the second wish is connected with the SBP. Perhaps someone might dissuade me, but currently what is lacking greatly is kind of some API without IPO, without paying performing an operation of payment for the favor of client. You might see his or her fee. If is done quite simple, this API can be implemented within a day. In fact, this would abolish lots of problems with fraud. That would eliminate lots of problems with fraud, and we're facing on the market, and this is what. These are my two wishes I'd have. It's clear, as Irina said, those wishes have been voiced here, announced, and at the chair of the Ministry for Digitalization to agree with these points. or there's something else to work on. No one else than the business itself, the industry itself knows about it. It's good that when there's a vision on the part of industry, and when regulators have been accused that we know better how to develop and live on, it's a very good message here. What I hear is about data and about technologies funding. We can help with funding, but talking about projects, look, what is I can be exact that we are planning to develop our projects together with the markets, in connection with the market, direct connection with the market. I started telling about it's not about the state keys, it's also about the other projects. We have been collecting visions, certain visions from our partners. We never leave our partners in lurch. When, and if, as it is the habit in your market. So it is exactly so that we're ready to go along with you. We're ready to help you with identifying tools and instruments of signing signatures for the data. We understand this is required. To make your service more comfortable, more convenient. This is where we would support you. And our time is over. Thank you, Dmitry. And Georgiy has summed up in assessing what the market looks like today. What we see that my assessment, the new digital reality is involving companies, and companies are ready to be part of that new reality. The companies are flexible, they're offering new technologies, they see the future, and I believe that we will go further on along this way. The only comment here is that the market, we belong to this market, and we treat that market, and our relation is changed somehow. But talking about regulation, I might be more cautious, more careful about that. And your flexibility is caused also by the fact that you have some kind of perks from outside. That's why we are to finish up. I thank all the speakers here. Hopefully everyone, it's been interesting to everyone, and see you later on. Thank you.